What is going on, YouTube? In today's video, we're going to be upgrading the winch on my equipment trailer. So I'll show you guys the brand that I got. We'll do an unboxing. Seems to be a really cool product. It seems to pull a lot of weight, and the price was awesome. So I'll show you guys what I got. I'll have a link for you guys if you guys want to check it out. You can mount it to a vehicle if you go off-roading, or in my case, mount it to my equipment trailer. So let's check it out and see what it is. Alright, so I want to show you guys my little tractor here, an Economy Power King. I fabricated the front loader at home. I still got to paint it. I started with the wheels, painting the wheels and stuff, so I'm gonna pressure wash it and eventually paint this whole thing and grind all the welds down, make it look nice. But this thing is literally the workhorse. But anyway, so literally that's what I use to pull my trailer and stuff around in my property. So here's a equipment trailer. It's you know, equipment trailers are narrower, so you can fit like a small car in here, but it's not really a car trailer. It's mostly made for like bobcats and stuff. So I'll show you guys what I have here. I do have a winch on this, but it's small, so this is where the plate is. I'll show you guys inside the toolbox. I like my stuff to be outside, like out of the weather, so that the cable don't corrode and stuff. So as you can see here, I have an X-Bull. I believe this was a 4500. Yeah, 4500. And this was just mounted here. Make it go out, kind of like that. And it was bolted to that 1/4-inch plate. And then it comes out the front like that. So the other one's much bigger. And the other one actually has synthetic rope instead of steel cable, because this here, the little individual strands, they'll break. And you run your hand on it, which you should never run your hand on steel cable anyway. They will destroy and cut your hand open. So be very careful. So we're gonna take this one out. Obviously, I'm gonna clean out the toolbox. Have a battery tray going for it to put the battery on the side. And we're gonna have to probably cut this plate out here, modify it. So we're gonna do some fabricating today and modify it depending on how the new winch mounts. And we shall have a nice and big winch to pull any kind of equipment on this trailer. This winch here does struggle a little bit. If you pull like a small car, it will pull it, but it will be very slow and it'll struggle. So I figured this is a perfect time to upgrade it. All right, guys, so this is what I got. I got the Openroad Panther Series 3S. They make all kinds of sizes of winches for ATV, for vehicles. Vehicles and trailers share the same mounting plate. This one here, I know the picture says 12,000, but this one is a 13,500. So that's the biggest one they make. And the reason why I went with this one is because for the bigger series, so 10,000, 12,000, 13,000, and 13,500, the dimensions of the actual winch are the same. The only difference is, I'm assuming, stronger gears and a stronger motor inside. So that's what gives you more pulling power. The rope seems to be the same, because this rope is rated for way more than the winch can pull. So having this rope on a smaller winch is totally fine. And for what you get with this, compared to all the other winches that I've researched, and I research a lot to buy any brand winches, I usually like Badland, which you can buy at Harbor Freight. And I've been using Badland on a bunch of trailers, ATVs and stuff, and I've never had an issue with them. Some of the earlier models, the cable could twist up and get caught in between the drum and the plate here, and it will literally explode itself. But once you mount this slightly offset, it takes care of that. So these things here are really good. However, compared to this, the price is way different, and I'll show you. So this company Openroad, they make all kinds of off-roading stuff. So if you guys should definitely check out their website. They have anything off-road. So they seem like they make really cool stuff. And I want to show you guys here. So this is the Harbor Freight winch. It's $600. That's what I was gonna get. And then I heard about Openroad, and I was like, wow, this looks really nice and really sharp. And it's only $379. So it's been on sale for a little while. And even if it's not on sale, it's still $100 cheaper for more pulling power. So why not? So let's unbox it and see what's included and how it compares to the other ones. All right, guys, here she is. I mean, this thing is awesome, dude. They even give you a hat. I've never bought anything that they give you a hat with it. That's awesome. So you get 2 wireless remotes. This is one of the main things. Is I've had so many winches in the past, and they only provide you usually with 1 remote. So having 2 remotes is awesome. You can leave one at home, so the way you don't lose it, one in the truck. It does have a wired remote too, so that way you have, if the battery dies on this, you do have something. And I'll put the length of the cable on the screen for you guys right now. You do have a nice hook, very, very heavy. Like, this is probably forged steel. It's definitely not aluminum, it's definitely steel. Okay, your ground cable, it comes already all wired for you. You don't have to do anything, just basically power and ground. So you got your nice, very thick cable, so you know this thing draws a lot of amperage. The cables are nice and thick, and looks sick. Really all aluminum. The only thing that's plastic is the box here. Everything seems to be aluminum. This plate here is thick, solid aluminum. That's for your guide for your rope. Hardware is galvanized. That's awesome, because galvanized will last. So it looks like galvanized, and a couple stainless bolts there. So definitely good materials, especially if it's going to be seeing elements, you know. Does have a lock and unlock here for you to do your free spool. And this is super easy. You just turn it and it locks into place. And then if you just keep turning it, it just falls back down. So it's literally super easy compared to the knob on the side or anything like that. This is literally, as you turn it, it raises up, then it gets caught on a notch. And when you want to release it, you just, that's it. Can't get any more simpler than that. So you get your manual, you get a nice little tag here for the end of the hook. And the winch, not much in the box, but this is really cool. That I really like, so good job on sanding that. There's probably a sticker here too. I love stickers when they send it to you. As you can see, all my stuff has stickers on it. I love putting stickers on my boxes and stuff. Yep, you get a nice, very nice sticker. So that's really cool. So I'm gonna show you guys the specs on this. So 13,000 pounds. The motor is 6.6 horsepower, 3-stage planetary gears, 218:1 gear ratio, which is really good. Automatic load hold, that's awesome to have. 2 remotes. Recommended battery. So this, you have to connect it straight to a battery because it's gonna draw, I'm assuming, over 300 amps. So they recommend a battery that's 650 and up. So I do have a 650, I think mine's a 700 amp cold cranking amps. So battery cables are 2 gauge, which is awesome. A 4-way roller, synthetic rope, that's a plus. The rope size, the rope length is 88 feet. That is awesome. That's so far. So you can really bring, especially for recovery vehicles, you can really stretch that rope. And it is a beastie winch. It does weigh 65 pounds. So that's definitely a beast. And as you can see here, amp draw, yep, 320 amps. So yeah, you definitely need a good sized battery. Even if you do an off-road vehicle, you might want to have a secondary battery just for that winch, and your charging system will charge that secondary battery. Because I think if you're running accessories in your car and you're also using 320 amps, if you're stuck somewhere, that's probably going to be a lot on your charging system. So I would recommend you run a separate battery. So yeah, let's go up to the trailer and see what we got to do to make this fit. All right, so first thing we got to do is turn the winch on its side and measure the bolt pattern so I can make pretty much a winch plate. I did not see a winch plate on the website for purchase. They do have winch plates for their smaller winches up to 6,000 pounds, but for these, I guess people mostly use these on vehicles, so they bolt it right to the bumper. One thing that I would suggest that Openroad does, I mean, they already did a lot of extras, but I would recommend they send a template, just a piece of paper with a template of where to drill the holes. That would save a lot of time for the consumer, and that would not add a lot. It would add, very little money to actually the product itself. And people can just open up the package that has your sticker and your manual, and have a paper template that they can just put it on their bumper. Just mark the holes, drill it, and then it'll line up perfect. So, but anyway, we'll measure it out. We'll use the plasma cutter. We'll cut up a plate and check it out. So I got my tape measure here. So we got to make it about 11.5 wide, and I'm gonna make it a little longer just so I can move it around. So it says about 6, so I'll make it like 6.5, just to give a little room for the winch to move back and forth. You always want to make it a little bigger if you have the room. That way, for clearance issues, you have a little wiggle room to move the winch around. So let's go up to the plasma cutter and we'll cut up a plate. All right, so I have a nice piece of steel here. This is a little thicker than quarter. This is about 11/32. So decently thick, pretty strong steel. So I'll use this here. It already has an L bend, so basically I'll mount the winch here with the 4 holes on the bottom. It does have 6 inches from here to here. So I mount the winch here, and then I'll just cut this probably in half and make a window here so I can bolt this on the front like that, where the rope's going to come through. And then once I have this mocked up where I can bolt the winch to it and bolt this to the front, then we can carry the whole thing up to the trailer and then see how high and what we're going to have to do on the trailer to actually modify it and support it, so that way it's mounted securely. All right, so I moved the toolbox out of the way. I'm gonna have to probably open up that hole more to fit the new plate, but I cut the old plate out. As you can see here, this piece here was welded like that. So I just cut it right here, flush, and I'm hoping to weld this to the outside of the trailer like that. All right, so I got the plate centered on the trailer and I have it leveled. As you can see here, 0 degrees. So I'm gonna mark it and then I'll grind the paint to bare metal all around, and then I will weld it. And the plate does overlap here because I want to mount it lower so that the center of the winch sits right about here. So I'm not gonna mount that flush, and because the winch is also so tall, as you can see there, it has to be able to fit in the toolbox. And even with this, I'm probably still gonna have to put a spacer here to jack up the toolbox to make the toolbox a little higher, but we'll get there when we get there. I'm gonna weld this on here. I'm gonna weld it behind here too, all the way. So yeah, let's get you cleaning and welding. All right, so it's fully welded all around. Not the prettiest welds. I did turn up the gas because it's a little windy out here, and so I turned up the gas to, because I'm welding outside with a C75, but for the most part, I come out pretty good. So now I'm gonna just put the winch on here and just test fit. All right, so that's how it looks so far, and then the toolbox is gonna slide back in, and hopefully the whole winch will be inside of the toolbox if I cut a hole big enough on the back just for the plate to go through. And it's a perfect height right here. So that's why I mounted that plate a little lower. That way the center of that will be just above that plate there. But yeah, literally perfect. All right, so as you can see, I cut a hole big enough for the plate to slide on, so the toolbox is flush with the front of the trailer. I still gotta push the toolbox that way up that way, but so now that area there is where the rope's gonna come out of, and you can see here I have room to bolt it up from the bottom. So all right, so that's how it's pretty much gonna look. I already knew I would have to move this control box out of the top, because this is usually for when you run it outside. You leave this on the top, but obviously my lid won't close, so that's okay. I'll make a bracket and mount it over here somewhere. I don't really use this box other than ratchet straps and stuff, so I'll make a little bracket mounted right here. And I do have to cut a little more right there so that the winch can slide all the way forward, and then I'll be able to just bolt it up. All right, I've got some primer on the plate to protect the welds. Then I'm gonna do the black. So I'm gonna let this sit overnight, do the black, and then I'll mount it all up and show you guys how it looks. So the winch itself is installed. You see there, it's bolted down, secured. I did make a bracket. So this bracket here, this control box, was sitting on the top, but because I need to close the toolbox, which it closes perfectly fine now, I had to pretty much move the control box to the side. So I fabricated this little bracket here that moves the box like this, and it gives me access to the remote control plug. So it's wobbly a little bit, but it works. All it's doing is floating that box for me. Then the battery's gonna go right here. I'm gonna clean the whole bottom of the box once I'm done. Right now it's all metal shavings everywhere. So now that the winch is mounted, before I do anything in here, I have to mount this guide plate on the front. As you can see here, it comes out through the front like that. And I have to mount this right here. So I'm gonna cut a couple pieces of steel going up with 2 holes, and then this will bolt to that, and it'll be somewhat centered on the winch. So let's go cut those out. All right, so I cut those two pieces, 3.5 by 6, just so we have enough room to trim and stuff. This plate that's welded here is not centered to the trailer, so there's the reason why this one is shorter than this one, because this here will be perfectly centered. So as you can see here, I used the stainless bolts they provided. I'm probably going to tack weld these back here so I can take the nuts off and on, because once I mount it over here, I won't be able to get to these. So it'll be pretty much like that. And I'm going to weld all in here, bottom and side. So once it's all welded, it should be pretty centered, and the rope will have no problem coming out of it. So I'm gonna clean all the paint off. I already marked it, as you can see. Bring it down to bare metal, tack weld it, make sure it's centered, and then fully weld it. Then I'll show you guys when it's done. Also, don't forget to wear your eye protection. I opt to use a face shield for any kind of grinding or anything like that, just to protect my whole face. You can use safety glasses, but I recommend one of these 100%. So that's down to the metal as far as I can get it. Between the flap disc and using the little Milwaukee, I can get in there in the corner. Obviously, I can get to the corner, but again, this is just a guide plate, so made with pretty thick steel, so should be plenty of welding to hold that little plate on the front. So let's weld this in. All right, she's all welded. It's a little windy out here, so the weld didn't come out 1000%, but way overkill for something that's just gonna hold the guide plate. But the bolts are tack welded on the back, so this here should just go right on. And then the lock washers and the stainless nut, that's a stainless bolt too, so it should be good for staying out here. And perfectly center. And the rope, basically just put the rope through, bolt that plate up, and we're done. So I'm just waiting for the primer to dry, so I can paint some black paint on there, some Rust-Oleum gloss brush on. I also cleaned up the inside of the box here. I might, because this is so open on the back, if it rains hard, I might get a little bit of water in the box. I might drill a few holes on the bottom, and so water will drain, so I won't keep anything in here that's like can't get wet, but the winch is off the bottom of the box anyway. And this is really made to be outside, but I just like to have my stuff out of the weather. So yeah, let me finish painting this and we'll try it out. Well, I ended up getting excited. I painted the box. I added the decal here that they sent me. Looks kind of cool, as you can see there. All done, all painted. I'll show you guys inside. All clean now. I did add a second shock to hold the lid a little better. So here it is. Winch is mounted nice. Easy to get to the release for the free spool. Box is mounted here. The remote just dangling here. I might 3D print like a holder for the remote. Maybe snap it in here or something. But for now, I'll just let it dangle there. I did add a shut off for the positive and the negative. But the reason why I went with the positive one, so when you turn it on, it gives you voltage. So that's kind of cool. I really like that. And when I'm not using the trailer, I'll just shut it off. You got 2 remotes here, which I'll keep in the truck. So let's finally do a pull test and see how powerful it is. All right, so we're ready to try and pull the Tacoma on the trailer. It is a little narrow. This is not really made for a car, but it'll fit kind of tight. So as you can see here, 12.4, everything's on. The wireless remote, you press and hold the power button for 3 to 4 seconds. And you do the same thing to turn it off. And go like this, it's gonna be engaged. If you want to free spool, put it like that. So I already free spooled, brought it over there. I just gotta engage, and we'll try it out. This is gonna be pretty much live. I'm not gonna speed up the video so you see how fast and how loud the winch is. So here's the remote. Let's see. Go around, make sure everything looks good. Like I said, it is pretty tight, but it will go. All right, everything looks good. I don't have to fix the steering wheel. Let's go right from here, away from the. Let's go back here, away from the rope. Let's make sure we're good here. Let's turn the wheel. Oop. All right. And as you can see, it's on top of the trailer. So we pulled it pretty easily. My 5,000 pound winch that was here, it struggled a lot more than this. So this pulled it with no problem at all. So let's push it down now. Let's see if I just go out. Yep. Okay. Giving a little bit of slack here. Okay. Go slow. It is a manual transmission, so it's just rolling in neutral. And there it is. Remote works awesome. And pulled the vehicle on the trailer like nothing. It's not very loud in person, honestly. My kid just went to bed, and the house is right next to us, and I'm not afraid of it waking him up or anything. It's pretty quiet for a 13,000 pound winch. All right, and just want to show quickly the wired button. So if you do lose your remote or your remote battery dies, you do have a wired option. I just want to show you it working. So right now there's a little bit out. I'm gonna pull it in. So works awesome. Very good to have a backup. But yeah, it works really good. I'm very happy with this winch, especially for the price. It's a lot cheaper than any other winch I found out there. So very nice. And they even give you a hat, which is awesome. So I appreciate you guys watching. I will have links down below for you guys to order it. I'll put all their winch sizes, the 13, the 10, the ATP winches. That way you guys can pick from it. But seems like a very solid winch. Maybe I'll do a review months down the road to see how it's holding up. But so far, it's looking really good. Take care and see you guys in the next one.